Hello, all you beautiful people. Welcome to League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, and the script is still set. 3-1 every single series. We're not getting any silver scrapes, but these 3-1 series were much closer than 4-game sets would dictate. These very much had the feel of 5 games between G2 SKT and Fun Plus and IG. It was a fun weekend, Mark.
And at the same time, even if you want to get that extra game, get that fun times of a Game 5, silver scrapes, all that emotion behind it, you didn't really need it for any of these series.
You had it right from Game 1 in all of them.
Ending here with the 4 games, the 3-1 scores here in these series certainly left you feeling as this is the definitive response here in these semifinals. This is your answer. And hey, G2 and FPX, the best teams in the world, heading into this final.
And we're just going to go through these series game by game. Each game in itself basically had its own storyline that you could go through. We got to start with G2 SKT. This was the most hyped match of the year, one we've had in years. Obviously, absolutely smashed the viewership records. Most viewed esports event ever, just under 4 million. So yes, League is not dead. Still here.
League is not dead whatsoever when you take into account that even in Korea they were having movie theaters set up to show this matchup. This is the big one here. The only time I can think of that happening here is for a gold medal hockey game in Canada. And I tell you what, gold medal hockey game, that's as big as it gets here. So League of Legends reaching that type of level, we're still on top, baby.
I don't want to see what those theaters were like after the matches because it was probably very messy and angry. But Game 1, the story and really the theme of this series was SKT winning the early game, as everyone loves to say, and we now know G2 got 1 Baron in the entire series. But Game 1, it was all about Caps' rise, split pushing and drawing some of the most insane pressure from SKT that I can remember in a game.
And this is questionable here from SKT because we've been telling them, and this is the organization that throughout history has always done their homework heading into these matchups, and heading into this one against G2 and knowing Caps and a champion like Rise, that is a recipe for disaster here with someone wanting to roam as much as Caps and having that type of power in his hands. And we saw this one in Game 1. He was out of control.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of the theme of G2 trading a Baron. They didn't even contest a lot of these. They just said, okay, we'll grab an inhib, we'll grab free CS so that you're almost 100 CS up on Faker's Nico. Caps had a 2-level difference eventually, and then Faker tries his best to save a team fight at the end, but it ends with just a G2 ace.
It just was not enough in the tank there for Faker. Got to respect the effort here, recognizing, got to make a play here towards the end, but just too little, too late goes the way of G2.
And I mean, that first game right away, it took 1 game to live up to the series, basically, to the hype for it. And you were like, okay, this is exactly what we want to see. We go to Game 2, and it was still early game for SKT, looking great. You get Clid on the Lee Sin. We know that this guy could put on a masterclass on the champion, and in the early game, he absolutely did.
So far, proving that he is this year's world's best Lee Sin so far, really showing that mastery on this champion. This is one that we've seen throughout the course of his career, and especially this year with SKT. This has been the one champion that has really stuck out as a strong point for him, and hey, it was strong in this matchup for SKT.
And the game-changing team fight in this one was Teddy on the Yasuo in a very extended team fight, but he had some super clean mechanics on the pick, something that we haven't really seen him. He doesn't play much Yasuo down there. You would expect Perks or Caps to be busting it out, but Teddy looked great on it in this game.
Let's take a moment to appreciate where we are in the League of Legends history here. You got Teddy playing on the world stage here, playing a Yasuo. This is the type of dreams.
2 years ago,
you never would have seen this with Jin Air, so this has got to be something to be appreciated here. This one certainly was quite a unique pick here for the SKT team to pull out in that position, and it does help them get that type of level of power here. And oh man, again, got to be talking all about that Clid, Lee Sin play.
Yeah, and he ended up clinching the game with an Elder Dragon steal, but this game was still incredibly back and forth. You were never fully confident that SKT was going to be able to close it out because we've seen G2 come back from some absolutely ludicrous deficits before. They didn't do it in game 2, so we're tied at 1. You go to that third game, and yet again, the early game looks great. Khan gets a 2-0 start on the Renekton against the Camille, and usually that lane is going to be over, but kudos to Wonder, he doesn't get tilted, and Jankos eventually would come back to save the lane for him.
And that is a major props there, because so far throughout this tournament, we've kind of been waiting for Wonder to have one of these moments here where he really stands out and kind of proves his big worth here and what, the kind of put a carry performance in through this top side of G2. Yet we haven't really seen that here, but this was big here to be able to have that advantage, go the way of your opponent early on, stand your ground, and not get tilted here on this type of stage. Massive props to Wonder. This was key for the G2 squad.
And even though this didn't go to game 5, almost all these games in this series felt like it was a 5th game because they were so back and forth. You were on the edge of your seat. The team fights went back and forth insane amounts, and it ended up, again, SKT gets a Baron, and 4 kills go over to G2. That would kind of be the main swing point to get them in this game to go up 2-1 in the series.
And this is one of those moments here where you're starting to realize, as an SKT fan, you've been watching this squad, you've had so much faith in SKT throughout the years of coming back and having that team fight prowess here, and now having these gold leads in your hand and not being able to convert on them here. I think this is where you're starting to see the SKT fans realize this is a different G2 esports, and this is a totally different animal that we've ever faced from the West before.
And you heard Nemesis talk about it when he was previewing these with LS. He talked about the incredible mental capacity that G2 has that they showed against him and Fnatic, and you saw it here against SKT, and you started seeing cracks in the SKT armor here. I think G2 was getting under their skin, and it was pretty evident heading into that 4th game, but they still showed up yet again in the early game, and Faker, he finally gets an assassin. Mata subs in for game 4 because Effort, yeah, he was struggling a little bit. Flash pink wards or not, he was definitely struggling. But you get the assassin for Faker. He started out 3-0, and Kiana, we know, is completely busted, so it looked great for SKT.
This looked like the dream for SKT, but again, throughout the entirety of this series, we had been seeing G2 esports managing to manage themselves here in these early games. Yes, SKT did have these leads, but they weren't necessarily so oppressive that they were not allowing members of G2 to find their way to these items, find that power eventually here. And when it came down to the team fights, came down to the communication and how cohesive you are on these calls, it was G2 esports time and time again throughout the mid game to the late game that were always coming out on top, always seemed to be on the same page. It was all G2.
And then you had the 1-6 power spike come in for Umajan on his Yasuo, the classic solo queue experience. And one of the key fights before that, of course, was Faker on the Kiana. He burns his flash to try and get a kill, and then ends up going for some greedy pathing, gets caught out, blown up immediately. That would lead to G2's first and only Baron of the series.
And some people have been like, oh man, Faker's boosted at that type of thing. And I'm like, man, you are absolutely out of your mind to call this guy boosted here in that type of play. It's clearly a situation where he is feeling the pressure here like any type of human being is. Good to know that Faker is not, in fact, a robot sent from the future. We figured that one out here.
Robots don't shake. Yeah,
they unless they spill water on them, but Spence Karen's not there, so we're good.
He's been home for a while.
Yeah, and anyways, with the SKT squad and Faker here, you had to make that type of play. You had to try and get something here. Yes, the execution wasn't there, and yes, the window was very small, and it shut down very fast on the rest of SKT after that.
And yeah, Caps TP to quadra kill for the Yasuo. Game's over, series over, 3-1. Ocelot's happy, G2 is happy. Yet again, they deny SKT for making a international final. And I don't think, yes, a lot of the flack is going to Faker, which is rare because he did definitely underperform in this series. I think Caps exerted much more pressure and was way more present in this series. He almost did 10% more of his team's damage than Faker in this series, but he gets some leeway. He did underperform, and let's praise G2. SKT didn't play maybe to their absolute heights, but they still played pretty damn well. G2 is just on another level in 2019.
That's what I want everyone to take away from this series here. Is it's not about the mistakes that were made on the side of SKT, having these leads, not being able to convert on them, all these type of things here. What I saw on the Rift that day was clearly G2 eSports asserting their dominance as the better team here, as the one that is at their peak and potentially going to be the champions of the world this year, and showing us that, you know what, this SKT roster, yes, there's a lot of talent here, and yes, a lot of potential still to be reached here for this team moving forward, but they are not quite back at that peak yet. And G2 eSports, they are the guardians of that peak right now, and they are heading towards that matchup against FPX.
One best of 5 away from that G2 Grand Slam. Coming up after the break, we look at the all-LPL semifinals with Fun Plus living up to the pre-tournament hypes and taking down the defending world champ. Hello, beautiful people. We are back on League Unlock. Eric and Mark here, ripping through the wild and exciting semifinal action that we had. The all-LPL matchup in the semifinals, first time since 2014. Much like G2 SKT, absolutely lived up to the hype. There was a kill per minute in most of these games. You can call it a fiesta and say they don't know how to play, but you would absolutely be wrong. These guys just love fighting.
This is the peak LPL action going on over here. I've been lucky enough to play on one of the servers in China, and I'll tell you what the difference is, that, hey, if you got any chance to get any type of advantage out of a situation, even a 10% chance that you're going to get it,
Lord, bro?
I'm going for it. We're fighting over any objective here, and that's how it goes, and that is exactly what you saw going on between IG and FPX, and that was a tilter, a battle for the ages going on in this one, and that one leaves us with FPX as our champions.
And game one started with, we knew there'd be some interesting, spicy picks in the mid lane. We've seen DoinB play Rumble before, and that combined with Tien's Qiyana, the team fight power that has was absolutely disgusting.
Oh, just so brutal to see that. You just see the equalizer go right down and then just right into that.
You don't even have a chance to be in this team fight when they land both.
Right into that ult there from the Qiyana, and it is GG, game over instantly from that combo there. That is that power of Tien and DoinB coming to fruition here from FPX, asserting that dominance early on in the series against IG.
And the Qiyana pick, obviously something that would come back to bite IG again later on. But if you think this series was a fiesta, I still don't think it is. But game two was the fiesta of all fiestas. It was very back and forth. You had tons of storylines. I mean, FPX had a couple thousand gold lead early on. Then IG gets right back in. And it was just fighting nonstop. You could see the casters barely had time to fit in any replays.
Right. This is not the fiesta of, oh my God, these plays are so boosted. This is the fiesta of, oh my God, there's so much action going on. I literally cannot keep up with the pace of it. That is what was going on here in this one. And this was a game two to behold. I tell you what, again, still, if you're picking one match from these semifinals to go back and watch, there's some pretty awesome ones. This one might be the most fun, is this game two between IG and FPX.
Yeah, pure excitement factor you're looking for this one. When you see the highlight videos go up and you're looking at 11 minutes for a single game, you know there's going to be a lot of kills going down, and there very much was here. You had Ning stealing the Elder to really get back into this, and Rookie completely saved the game by pushing up mid, even though the team lost the entire team fight. That's the Lucian mid, by the way. Rookie rocking in this one. And then the TP LWX looks like it's the game changer. The last team fight, he TPs into the base, takes down both Nexus turrets, but it's not enough to kill the Nexus.
You think that's going to be the big brain play there, but that is the one there that seals the deal here for IG to take game two, even up the series here against FPX.
And to be fair, if FPX wins that game in that fashion to go 2 up, done. Probably a sweep in that regards. There's no way you're not tilted after that. But we go to game 3, and the early game is very much back and forth again. It was pretty even, 4 kills to 5, and then all of a sudden, FPX just completely blow the game open because Tian gets Qiyana again. They rally off 14 straight kills unanswered, just winning team fight after team fight, and yeah, 18 to 5, all of a sudden the game is done and dusted.
We've seen this a couple times now, Tian getting this Kiana pick and seen it again and again and again that it's
Ban
not a good idea here. This is not the type of champion that you want to be giving over to this FPX side, especially someone like Tien and the role that he plays here for this squad and how he pairs up with someone like a Doin B and the champions that he can play, and pairing that up here with that proficiency on that Kiana. Don't let it happen.
Everyone's been talking about the other junglers at the tournament, Yankos, Tarzan, Klid on SKT. People forgot about Tien on FPX, man. But this was a series where he absolutely showed up in a huge way for the top seed from the LPL. So we go to game 4, and you know there's going to be insane team fights every which way. The Shy gets Kale. He's getting quadra kills. He's getting up to 8 kills. He looks really fed. Here we go, finally, a game 5. IG coming back until the Shy and Jackie Love decide we want to do some face checking.
Oh boy, yikes! This is inting. This is okay. I tell you what, I told you that game 2 was not about being boosted. Some of these plays here you cannot deny are boosted. This is unfortunate here to see at this point, and especially unfortunate given the performances of these players up to this point in time here and what you had to do to get some of these points here, to just throw it all away with some of these poor decision making and rash choices here. Not what you want to see from the IG squad.
And we've seen them countless times with the Kai'Sa-Kale combo, with the Killer Instinct in and the Kale ulti. It is disgusting, and you saw Jackie Love clean up a bit. You saw previously in the tournament, they had executed this comp so well and had been doing it so well in this exact game until, for absolutely no reason, with the rest of the team just a bit behind them, they go face check, and then there was a couple other times the Shy dies before he even is able to use that Kale ulti. Just absolute disaster.
And it's unfortunate because so far throughout this tournament and pretty much throughout the kind of the play-in tournament here for IG to get through as that 3rd seed from the LPL and then to get here in throughout their group and Group D. And then at this point, it was kind of building this house of cards. You were like, man, they're looking pretty good. This house is getting its shape up. And then all of a sudden, one card plucks out here and the Int machine goes off and the rest of IG's hopes and dreams gone with it too.
And again, we'll criticize those plays out of the key carries in that comp for IG. But Fun Plus, for the knockout rounds, totally different team than we saw in the round robin. They are through to the finals. Another year, we get the LPL versus the LEC in the grand finals. And for how long? We're talking power rankings in the spring split. We had FPX and G2 as 1-2 for so many weeks. They were the most consistent teams across the regular seasons in 2019, and we were just hoping to see a best of series between them. And as the last series of the year, it's exactly what we'll get.
It's perfection here. We had 3 1 seeds and the defending world champions at the semifinals, and we end off here with pretty much the longest tenured teams here at the top of our power rankings, G2 and FPX here, deciding it all in Paris.
Yeah, we didn't get it at MSI, but we will get it at Worlds, and both teams come in. Listen, the road that G2, if they win this World Championship, that is the toughest bracket stage that any team has ever had to go through.
Hey, you got to do it for the Grand Slam, boys. Bring it home here for the rest of EU.
Darius Dunkmaster and Promiscu will get a stage game so that he gets a skin. I can guarantee you that. But we will preview the World Final in absolute full preview form. We can guarantee you that. Coming up after the break, there's still one more best of series to go, but apparently the off-season rumors are already swirling. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. We have the finals left for Worlds, and there's lots of press conferences that have gone on this year, and you saw. Usually the questions aren't the greatest, we'll say, but for SKT's losses, we're already in the offseason, apparently. People are asking if it's time to rebuild. I've never heard of a team rebuilding after getting back-to-back LCK titles, semifinals at MSI, and semifinals at Worlds where you lose both times to potentially the eventual champions. Most teams dream of a year like that.
This is the rebuild. This is the rebuild is done. You've made it. You've made it back from being kind of this, defunct SKT that we had seen in 2018 to now this one working like a proper machine here, looking like the glory of SKT will be coming back. We're not quite there yet. Again, we aren't seeing that dominance. I don't think you will ever see that level of dominance again. The scene, the community in League of Legends around the world, it's too competitive now. We've gotten better in other major regions, and hey, even a minor region sometimes like North America can punch up and grab a victory here or there.
More of a bite your ankle, maybe not quite a punch.
Okay, fair enough here, but sometimes we can get something like that. So I don't think, again, you can dominate quite to that level in an international stage. So asking about rebuilding SKT, you've built it. You've rebuilt here, maybe a couple tweaks here and there, but this is the squad that you want to be rolling through with in 2020 if you're the SKT team here. What are you going to do? Get rid of Faker? Come on.
The only change this team I could possibly see making is if Mata doesn't want to play anymore and becomes a coach. That's it.
Oh yeah, I can completely see that. And again, when you're talking about the issues that you saw here in the matchup against G2, some of the maybe the more pressing issues that you might want to address, these are all things that can be addressed either internally or throughout time here. Things like effort being caught out and things like that. Effort is such a young player who is so valuable with a lot of potential for this squad and how he communicates. There are so many things to build off of here still as this SKT organization. This ain't the time to tear it all down and build again.
You absolutely still have world-class talent at pretty much every position, again, assuming effort's still going to develop. Teddy is still going to develop. This was his first year actually playing meaningful games. Not just internationally, but meaningful games because Jin Air was so terrible. So SKT, stop. It's not a rebuild. They're going to come back with the same roster as they absolutely should. But a team that will be going some changes is no doubt Invictus Gaming. You've got to imagine the defending champs. They brought back the exact same roster from 2018. Got top 4 at Worlds again, top 4 at MSI. They won a domestic title. But we know that behind the scenes there have been issues between Ning and the Shy with a little bit of drama is the main one. Baolon has had some questionable moments. We don't know what kind of changes will happen, but there's already rumors that are going around. You saw Ning barely 24 hours after IG gets eliminated, he deletes everything IG related and pretty much just everything from his Weibo account, and then he's following some guys from TES, Top Esports, and he's tweeting cryptic, or not tweeting, whatever you do on Weibo, Weiboing some things, you know, some cryptic stuff about good night, kind of saying goodbye to an era. So it sounds like there's a chance Ning is going to TES.
Oh, I think this one, there's a lot of different levels of rumors that we end up getting here throughout the entirety of the offseason, especially even in the LPL. But this one I'm definitely categorizing into pretty darn close to being reality here. I think Ning is out of here with IG. We've seen that history not be exactly so perfect so far towards the end of this relationship, and certainly seeing the signs here pointing towards a role at top seems to be the most logical choice.
And now, that being said, XX had some pretty great moments and has terrific synergy with Knight, so it's probably going to be a split duty type of scenario if he does end up going there, and that's probably best suited for Ning at this point in his career.
Hey, we've seen that coin flip, and we've seen it flip a couple times here at this Worlds when we saw it against Griffin. Flipping, coming up heads here for the IG squad, but we saw it a couple too many times here.
I think he got tails 4 times in a row.
Coming up tails.
It was bad, unlucky, man.
Against FPX here, not working out for him. Wishing him the best here if he is joining the top esports squad.
But if you're IG, I mean, outside of that change, the Shy rookie Jackie Love, you'd be insane to change any of those 3, maybe something with support. And if Ning's leaving, is it full reins over to Lian in the jungle? Are you going to try and bring in another free agent or someone else through a trade?
I think this organization at this level will be looking to possibly add through free agency. That will always be an option here with the money that IG has. But certainly
being a world champion helps.
Right. And certainly, though, the talent of someone as Lian has shown us enough potential early on here in his career that we could possibly see IG decide to invest in this young talent and stick through it. But I don't think that you can count out that IG will not be in the running here for a lot of these free agents.
And again, as long as they have the Shy rookie and Jackie Love, this is a team that will be contending, not just in the LPL, but internationally for many years to come. Even though the Shy disappointed a little bit in the semifinals, that's because the expectation was literally be the best player in the world at the moment, and he's only going to get better. He's still so young in his career. But a couple of teams that will not be making any roster changes next year, I could pretty confidently say is G2 and Fun Plus Phoenix, who will be going head-to-head in the World Finals, and we will preview all that action for you. But that's all the time today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys as always. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.